Hello, everybody. Good evening to most of you watching. Perhaps it's a good night to some of you, and probably fewer of you, good morning. I think even in Australia, we're getting to the latter parts of the morning here. I don't know, maybe my math is wrong. Well, hello, everybody. Um, as always, we'll start off with a couple of notes while we're waiting for everybody to trickle in. I like how there's more thumbs up than people watching. That's YouTube's Dominion voting machine being used to count viewers and things like that. Down in the description box below the video, important links to everything. Our Blitz tour coming up. Get tickets to whichever one is closest to you. This will be the last time we're coming around before everything comes to Observer Ranch. So get your tickets at that link. Speaking of Observer Ranch, you've got the links to Observer Ranch down below. Still getting a lot of people who are interested. I'm sure, as with every one of these live Q&As, somebody's going to ask me how to be part of the ranch. Maybe I'll save that for when they actually ask. Playlists, books, and my Twitter account link are down there. Again, if you're not on Elon Musk's Twitter 2.0, some people don't like it, but people like observers like it a lot. And if you're banned for life, just make another account. It's not like he unbanned my old account. It's like a million down the list of ones to unban. I just made a new account. By the way, right before and no, Joe Rogan hasn't called me yet. He's not going to. Just to answer that question I saw over there. I saw a pretty funny question in the YouTube comment section from the morning show asking if that asteroid that's going to be making a close flyby is going to be doing so 2,000 miles from the surface or 2,000 miles from the center of the Earth. And it's like, somebody needs a little lesson about how big Earth is. But it's funny. But yeah, guys, go ahead and pop your questions in about, I don't know, whatever you guys want to do tonight. Climate science, cosmology, space weather, sunspot maximum, or I don't know, if anybody happens to be interested in Earth's catastrophe cycle, I suppose we'll answer questions about that too. Yeah. And as always, I don't know if you can see this in the background. Watch the playlist. But don't play the watch the playlist drinking game. Learn my lesson. Daniel Smith, you're funny. You guys got some real creative spelling in the chat right now. Man, you know what? Actually, something I wanted to do first. Let me go and take a look. Yeah, we're like still really waiting for this coronal hole stream to settle in a big way. Either that or this is just like a really meager coronal hole stream. I suppose that's possible as well. Good evening to you too, Daniel. Thanks for the support. Appreciate that. I saw somebody ask if a large CME could wake Yellowstone. No, it's broken. It's broken. It's the only volcano in the world, super volcano or otherwise, that can boast that kind of a pressure release. It has no way to build up pressure. Every time there's pressure underneath, there's quakes, there's geothermal release, there's geysers. It's an effusive eruption threat in this disaster, but that's like what Hawaii does, where it just bubbles up and spills over. The reason people are afraid of Yellowstone is the explosive eruption threat, and it just doesn't have that. It has no way to build up pressure. Tis what it is. Also, if anybody has any questions about last night's flood maps video, I suppose we'll do that as well. Be nice to actually have a tsunami program where we could do it like that, but that's Just used a regular old flood map program with a projected max sea level height that would come on from the inertia, partially also based on the past waves that we know occurred and mountain ranges that they broke through, put it that way. Nogram, I wouldn't live at Cascadia if I were you. T. Coleman, good to see you. Thank you for the support. Victor says, thanks for all you do. Very appreciated. I appreciate that very much. Thank you. My phone literally had 0 notifications for hours the moment I get on here. Well, I'm glad I looked at this. Weatherman's Guide to the Sun is back in stock. How about that? For those of you who've been asking. Yeah, so that's good. Weatherman's Guide to the Sun arrived. I don't know how many arrived. I don't know how many Cat ordered, but they're back. Lady T says, how tall will the tsunamis be in Sloshback? Well, you know, that's I'm not sure if that's really the right way to put it because it's going to be different everywhere. But the Sloshback will be like an enormous wave. The initial inertial tsunamis will be like a rising high tide, fast rising high tide that lasts for hours and hours and hours. I mean, the water is going to arrive at your feet, and then a minute later, it's at your waist, and a minute later, it's at your head. A minute later, you better have something you float on or be really good at swimming, kind of thing. Dodging trees, animals, houses, people. That's something a lot of people forget about. Yes, it will be possible to float away, but it's not like it's not going to be a lazy river when the waters come. Even if they get to you nice and slow, by the time there's any depth, it's going to be a torrent. And there will be trees. There will be houses. There will be cars. There will be animals. There will be people. Some still breathing, some probably not. Whatever you're floating on, I hope it can handle getting hit by a tree, put it that way. Best place to have a boat, uphill, downhill, top of a hill, compared to initial wave. You know, the initial inertial wave should be, I mean, it's going to keep going for hours and hours and hours and will cover an enormous part of the world. But it should not be dozens of feet tall and traveling at hundreds of miles an hour. The sloshback is going to be absolutely horrific. Horrific. But if you got a boat, I would say wherever is the best place to have it is going to be just fine. Moored but not anchored so tightly that it's going to be a challenge to get it unhooked from whatever it is it's hooked to. Hopefully it's not hooked to anything. It's just sitting on something. Like the back of a truck. You know, a lot of people here in Colorado do that. I can't believe how many people here in Colorado have boats. Apparently they don't have maps. But a lot of people around here have boats. And they apparently take them to places to go boating. D's nuts. That's a heck of a name. Yeah, wouldn't want to be in the. He asked if the middle of the USA is dead. I mean, if you saw last night's video, middle of the United States is not in good shape at all. Steam engine for mechanical power after the kill shot? Question mark. Is there one at the ranch? Right out the flip on a larger ship. So right now, I mean, we're still building the ranch. A lot of the amenities or accoutrement, if you will, is coming. Steam engine for mechanical power can work. Almost anything for mechanical power can work. Generating electricity might be another story. You're going to have to protect all the critical components and then build it afterwards. Otherwise, they could fry. Waynard, it's getting really good to see you on all these. Really starting to, I'm not going to say expect you expect to see you. Like, you better be here. But it's good to see you. I really do appreciate the support, man. Thank you. Watching with 13-year-old son. Uh-oh. He's heard your voice for many years. Was time to include him in the preparations. Thanks for all you do. Okay, so I can't make this too scary then. Thanks. Appreciate that. And hello, young man. You are walking in waters deeper than most people your age should right now. Keep a clear head. Some of the things I'm going to say might be scary, but there's different reactions to things that are scary. Some people get afraid, and fear is nothing but a thief of your time, your focus, your energy. Some people take something scary and they get inspired. It motivates them to take action, both in the physical world and in the mental world. Compels them to learn more and become more acquainted with what's going on. Never a bad time to find out what you're made of, though. Please explain what variables were used to create the flood map and height above mean ocean level, etc. Evidences from past events and no fancy tea today. I don't get the last part, but Riley, it was... So that's basically a flood map. All you do is set how many meters you want to show the water going. And we used the idea that, okay, with the math, and if any of you have Next End of the World, there's that model that shows the run up of a wave. A wave that's only this big can run up to here just based on the inertia of the wave. And so using those models of what we thought the Pacific would be doing in terms of how fast it would be going, combined with how high they would need to get to break through the Rockies at several places while leaving the tops dry, we set it at 1,200 meters. I set Europe at only about 900 because it was just too depressing otherwise. And like I clarified last night, that needs to be clarified because just set it for that all over the world. It creates an unrealistic view of, say, parts of Canada or other things like that, or in the bad way. And it creates an unrealistic view of things like in Indonesia in a good way, which, I mean, if you don't remember that, go watch the video last night again. But that's the best we have right now until somebody builds me a tsunami model. I'm a physicist, not a programmer. Alaska was not on the flood maps. Can we get that? 1 second. Floodmap.net. Floodmap.net. Do it yourself. Use those numbers. I would put in 1,200 meters. Floodmap.net. Paladin, what's the difference between a dark coronal hole and when the sun goes dark before solar micronova? Now, that's a good question. So, coronal holes only look dark on the UV view. You don't see a dark thing up on the sun. That UV view basically returns color or light when it detects the ionization from those particles. A coronal hole is an area where the corona is empty. It's a giant hole in the atmosphere. Everything's getting blown out by those magnetic fields. And so it doesn't pick up as much there, so they look darker, just like around the sun. Around the sun looks black on those because it's not picking anything up there. When the sun goes dark before the solar micronova, it will look dark to our eyes. And that's the difference between visible light blocking and reduced photoluminescence and the ultraviolet camera that is used by the Solar Dynamics Observatory, which is what I show in the morning news. Hope that helps. Jeff David, are we keeping an eye on the Hopi tribe? They have a history of evading these catastrophes. Yeah, they do. Really do. How does one keep an eye on the Hopi tribe without being creepy? I don't know. Kat texting me again. What do you guys think? Should I take a moment and just text her back and let her know I'm talking to you guys? Sure, okay. enhance. When you can reduce 2 separate key ideas into a 4-word text message, you are a communicator. Joe, that's a good question. How long will the water last when the runoff happens? So I think it'll be about a day to a day and a half from when the waters begin to come to when they recede. Now, here's the thing. The oceans might be sloshing around for a day or 2 or 5. I don't know how long it takes for the oceans to resettle. Something to consider. Obviously, in their sloshing and the resettling, it will never be as bad as the initial ones. But that's an excellent question. There's a lot of unknowns there. Ralph, hello again. That article about the Corps made it on our local radio station. I'm wondering what they're getting at about that. I have no idea. Like I said, like this wasn't even the first paper in the last year and a half that was talking about, is Earth's core super rotation changing? To maybe it's now just co-rotating or maybe sub-rotating, which, by the way, doesn't mean going the other way. It just means faster, the same, or slower than the mantle and the crust. Nobody made a big deal about it back then. I really couldn't tell you what's going on with that right now. Then again, I've stopped trying to convince myself the world's supposed to make sense. So I don't know about March 2020. So, before that, it was just some scientists pushing nonsense. Some people who have too much hair dye pushing nonsense. But now it's clown world now. I wouldn't expect that to stop anytime soon either. Not this the way Klaus Schwab was talking at the World Economic Forum. You eat the bugs, Bond villain. Jimmy Corsetti pointed out the salt remainders around the Richat structure from the last flood. Could Great Salt Lake Formation be from the same flood event? Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I don't know if that could be all of it, because we would see more things like Great Salt Lake. There is also the notion that powerful electric currents in water should affect where the ions are. Like if you're pulsing electric current through one part of an ocean, or if a lightning bolt hits the ocean, at least for a brief time, there should be a lack of evenness in the sodium and other ions and things in the water. So that's something to consider as well. It's a very good question. Very good question. I also think there's catastrophic rains for quite a while, as I've mentioned before, after this event. Not to mention ice accumulation and ice melting, which is not a terrible explanation for the Great Lakes. Farmer John, Ben, can you speak to the storage of food a bit more detail? What kind of storage? How do I plan to store it? How much food? How long? So our idea is as much as humanly possible. However, I could tell you that glass containers with rubber gaskets are better than any metal container. If you have a bunch of metal, store it in a plastic bin or several plastic bins. If you're really good at growing, it's very likely that within 1 year, things will be able to grow again. Otherwise, the entire world would be dead by now. Something to think about. And in the stories that talk about how after the catastrophe, there is this pretty rapid settling in of almost a golden age, really corroborates that. I think that at very least a year, but go for more just in case. We looked at the flood map yesterday, but Canada wasn't accurate as per what you say. Will the wave clear the tallest mountain in the Cape Breton Highlands, Nova Scotia, Canada? Sandy, yeah, this is what I was just talking about. That's not a tsunami simulation. It's just a sea level rise simulation, which is why I said a couple minutes ago, and I actually said last night, that there are parts, especially of Canada, where this is not accurate, where you can't go on a sea level rise map for things like that. I wouldn't underestimate the slosh back of the Arctic if I were you. But yeah. In Nova Scotia, the Atlantic's going to absolutely hammer that area. Hammer. It's going to be brutal. Jay Ham, you're not a financial advisor, but you probably don't suggest 401ks or IRAs, do you? I certainly am not qualified to give financial advice, no. Also, what is my favorite freedom-loving state for what comes? Idaho? By freedom-loving state, do you mean red state? Fortunately, most of the best red states are not going to be in good shape when this happens. If that's what you mean, then yeah, maybe Idaho. However, people who live out here, and I don't know if this is true in Idaho, but it was true in New Mexico and it's true in Colorado. It's not so much about what the state is, it's what the county is. Denver locked down when COVID hit. Colorado Springs, no one really cared. Some people did. Fremont County, nobody cared. And so out here, the county level is a little different. Good question, though. Lorene, thank you. I love the little teal pair. Joe Rogan won't have you because he knows nothing about the sun and what's going on and doesn't want to look stupid. I have considered that before. Although he's invited people on before that talk about things he doesn't know anything about. And I actually think he handles himself pretty well there. There's some other reason why they won't have me on. What are my estimates for the timeline from when the sun turns red to black? 3 days. 3 days till the micronova. If it stays red for 2 and then turns black, 5 days. 3 days of darkness. Hey, Ben, how long do we have until the solar kill shot reaches Earth? My intuition is telling me that next year or two it'll be here. I still think there's more than a 50-50 shot we make it out of this sunspot cycle. Just because even though we see evidence of the magnetic field continuing to weaken, it's not to the levels where I can say, oh, pretty much anything big from the sun's going to take out global power. No, we're not there yet. Are we down 30% in the magnetic field, 35%? Maybe. Maybe. Luckily, the sun isn't testing us too much just yet. Like I've said a bunch of times, in terms of the solar EMP taking out the global power before the zenith of the disaster, that is by far the most unpredictable aspect of all of this. But I think we'll make it to the 2030s. My daughter has type 1 diabetes. Making insulin is an issue. To be or not to be, that is the question. So I have heard of people making their own insulin. I have also heard of people through diet changing things like that. Now, I am definitely not qualified to give medical advice, and you shouldn't be taking medical advice from me. And I also do know that the diet thing works better on type 2 than type 1, but I also know it's not unheard of. And again, I can't even tell you the specifics of what that diet is. You'd have to do some research on that, but people do make their own insulin. Challenging, especially with no power, but not impossible. When will I stop traveling far from home or use the Big Burb full time? First of all, the Big Burb is Rocky's, not mine. And, like if I see evidence that Earth's magnetic field could be 50% down, like if a weak coronal hole stream takes out power to a couple Canadian provinces, New Zealand, parts of South Africa, Europe, I might have to start thinking about any kind of travel. I am going to live my life as much as I possibly can. And my kids deserve to enjoy as much of life as they possibly can until this actually happens. My sweetheart doesn't want to move to Colorado. Taxes. But he's interested in Tonopah, Nevada, elevation 6,000, 200 miles northwest from Las Vegas, population 2,500. He's on board finally. There you go. Do it, Susie Rose, by any means necessary. All right. Josh, thank you very much. Appreciate you. T. Coleman, start small. Teach your kids how to survive a house fire, then severe weather, then being lost, then how to find water, food, being kidnapped, and so on. That's scary. Teach them the skills to survive adversity. By the time you reach kill shot micronova, they'll be ready. All right, that's not terrible advice. Question is, at what age? I'd like to think my daughter knows what to do in a house fire. She wouldn't know what to do in a tornado. We've never lived anywhere where there's tornadoes. I mean, I know what to do in a tornado. But that was a great comment, Tico. Appreciate that. Any thoughts about the large calcium carbonate white patches on the increase around the Bahamas? What caused it? No. It's a good question, though. I can look into that, see what comes up. The world will do some strange things. You know, that might not even be disaster related, for all we know. The world's going to do some strange things, though. Lori says, my house is bermed in but has a metal roof. Is there any way I can protect my house from micronova, middle of nowhere, Wyoming? There's no way to protect your house from the induced electric current, such that like your electronics will be okay afterwards. No, there's no way to do that. The issue is mostly going to be the winds, the rain and flooding, the hail, and the lightning are going to jump up like 3 or 4 levels in the aftermath of this, simply because of the atmospheric electricity. Something to think about, something to consider. Can't spend this whole time leaned over or close to the computer like that. Like trying to grab a sticker in the middle of your back. I've gone past the ability to do that. Middle of nowhere, Wyoming is not a terrible place to be, Laurie. Cold, hail, things like that are your biggest concern. When the world loses power like that, everyone's going to lose power like that. And the good news is a metal roof will be helpful for any radiation. But I hope you have a basement. Ted, will there be any immediate indications of an impending kill shot? How much notice, if any, will there be? Can we crowdfund a mini-sat as an SO indicator? You don't need to. The GOES X-ray flux will tell us when the flare happens. But the problem is, if it's a really big one, it could be an hour. If it happens when I sleep, like while I'm sleeping, the world could lose power before I wake up. Now, the far more likely scenario is there's a moderate CME and a coronal hole stream and a filament eruption, and they hit us boom, boom, boom consecutively, compounding impacts. And that we'll see coming for 2 days. But I also won't know for a fact that it's going to be that bad. I'll say, oh, hey, look, we have these consecutive impacts coming. This is the kind of thing we're looking for. But I'm not going to be like, everyone, this is it. Run for the hills because of an M-class solar flare and a filament eruption and a potential coronal hole stream interacting simultaneously in the magnetosphere. If it's an X40, there's a possibility that there is no warning. Unless you have the disaster prediction app, which, by the way, I don't own anymore. I haven't since August. Todd from 9resay is doing a pretty good job with it. I just got the new version of the disaster prediction app on my phone. It alerted me earlier today when there were solar flares. Yeah, that would be a good way. About the only way to have some kind of app that actually looks at that. And yes, it is a continuation with upgrades from the app we started a couple years ago, but I'm spending more time thinking about the ranch and new science coming out and watching to make sure the World Economic Forum or anybody else at that level doesn't do something stupid. I had said something about metal melting when micronova hits. What about carbon fiber? I know there's more than one kind of carbon fiber, but I think that would just depend, really. Let me look at this here. Carbon fibers are good conductors. Excellent properties. The electrical insulation behavior restricts their applications. All right, so they're conductive. They're going to attract electricity, but they also have insulative behaviors, which creates resistance, which creates heating. They have a chance to melt as well. Simple, but direct. Ran Hobbs, thank you. That's a cute little emoji there. Do you think the active region on the incoming backside of the sun will settle down before it gets to Earth facing? I don't know. I'm not Jesus. My crystal ball broke. My kids were playing with it and dropped it on the ground, shattered into a million pieces, along with my heart. No, but for serious, this is the most impossible thing to guess. The most impossible thing to guess. What the sunspots are going to do. It's a way, way easier for me to tell you, all right, guys, this is going to happen with the planet's magnetic field, and this is what we're going to see on the other planets, and this is the color the sun is going to turn, and then it's going to micronova, and then this is what's going to happen to Earth afterwards, and this is approximately when the math says it's supposed to happen. That's all easier than telling you if this given sunspot's going to put out a flare or not. Crazy stuff. Wes Alexander, will Earth roll over after it stops rotating? It does not stop rotating. It's going like this, and it will continue to go like this while it turns. And then it will slowly reorient its turn. But it never stops rotating. Did I miss one? I did. Oh, hello, CB. Thank you. Appreciate it. What does that say? Bust out the magic 8-ball. Dude, I haven't even thought of the magic 8-ball in decades. Holy cow. All right, yes. Apart from the answer I gave, you could also pull out a magic 8-ball and see what the magic 8-ball says. MJJ asks, what is the Sapphire Project? Something rooted in electromagnetic physics that is now trying to get into the energy game. Can't say I blame them, even if I would have wished for other things. Do I think this is a reason a lot of people are trying to get off this planet? Elon, NASA, and other companies and countries. Yeah. Although I don't think they're going to do any better on Mars or the moon. The flaw in their plan. And they're equally worried about us running out of food, nuclear war, general chaos, people with too much hair, things like that. We'll see how many times I can call that one back in this show, by the way, because that's some funny stuff. What's my take on Antarctica? Why did Klaus Schwab, Christine Lagarde, and others meet there in December of 2021? First of all, I had no idea they met there in 2021. Same reason Donald Trump said we should buy Greenland. They know what I've been telling you. They know where Antarctica and Greenland are going to be after the Earth turns over. They know what they're doing. But keep this in mind. If it was hopeless, there would be no need for all their propaganda and all of their control paradigms. If all was lost already and we didn't know it, the world would look a lot more like 2019 than it does post-March 2020. For giggles, someone wants to know if a mirror will deflect a solar flare. Yes. The problem is, the solar flare itself is not what's scary. It's all the charged particles hitting the top of the sky, creating an inductive effect that sends electric current through the ground and the atmosphere early. And no, a mirror will not protect against that. Does it really matter how high an elevation you get to when the winds alone will tear a human apart? Why do you say that? It seems like every day I have to come back to this idea where people are talking about supersonic winds and this and that. No, that's not going to happen. Everything on Earth would be torn apart. There would be no world here today. All the animals would have gone extinct. There's no evidence to suggest that ever happened, and I can't find any physics that makes me think it's going to happen this time. My girlfriend and I are looking for mountain land, Eastern Rocky Mountains. How far from a major city would you recommend? I don't know, just as far from Denver as humanly possible. There's too much hair dye. Midnight Light Company, seriously, there will not be winds like that. There will be hailstorms like that. There will be lightning like that, but not winds. And that's one of the reasons we say you should have something underground, like a bunker or even a root cellar. Basement could work. At some point, I wouldn't expect any level but the basement to be there anymore. Mental awakening. How high can you go? Let me know when you get to X 1000. Do I know who Dragoman is? Nope. I do not. Is anywhere in England safe? Safe is a relative term, my friend. Relative term. No. You're welcome, Midnight Light Company. Is that like a real thing? Like, can I look up Midnight Light Company? I'm now curious what you do. There are easier things in the world to get me curious about something. Far easier things in the world to do than get me to be curious about something. AM, PM, it's not a bad question. But the lopsided core and LLSVPs are really just an answer to people saying that Earth is symmetrical about the second axis. It's not like it's out of the realm of possibility, but I do truly think it is just the crust unlocking from the mantle and twisting that way. That's just the most logical explanation. It just so happens there's an option B and an option C that involve other kinds of torque to the planet as a whole, but those would be far more devastating. And they're not needed as well. Not a terrible question. I have family in Loveland that owns some of the Devil's Backbone. Is that at all safe? I don't know. Where's that? I just act like I know where every place in the world is. Where's Loveland? Looking. Oh, dude, that's North Denver. My answer is no. No, 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 no. Denver's going to eat itself alive. And the few remaining survivors will dye the hair of all the people that they've eaten. Wuho, thank you very much. You appreciate it in a big way. I'm telling you, I'm not going to let this hair dye thing go this whole show. Stephen Hoffman came across your channel years ago researching the electric universe. Makes sense. Just bought your books not too long ago. More serious now. Moved back to Colorado and will remove all metal fillings just in case. Yeah. Can't say I disagree or take issue with any aspect of your comment whatsoever. And thank you. Wuho, again, interesting maps in the latest video. How nice was I being with the European maps? Probably would be 10 to 20% worse. More flooding than I showed. And I didn't show very much, did I? In terms of being clear of that. Europe is just not in for a good go of it this round. It's going to be brutal, especially the sloshback. Like, there will be more people in Europe that survive the initial inertial wave than anywhere else except maybe India, maybe the coast of China. Oh, those sloshbacks. Oof. Dr. Robert Schock's Forgotten Civilization should be required reading for everyone here. Yep, solar-induced dark age. Blah, blah, blah. Sida. Yeah, Robert Schock and I are on the same page about almost everything. Good dude. Good dude. Thank you, Ben. What happened to the metal rebar and concrete? Would that melt? Not in just the solar EMP, but in the micronova, it's very possible. And if there's sufficient current going through it, you could get it could basically turn it into an electrode, and it could literally be firing lightning arcs out of it. Not a good time to be playing Parcheesi in the basement. Will the moon zap us or protect us? I don't think it's going to do either one. We don't need something else to zap us. The magnetic fields, the L shells will zap us, and basically what they say a magnetar does. I hope the moon doesn't zap us. That'll be bad. Another Ben. How long will the planet remain tilted before wobbling back? 12,000 years. And does the 12,000 year cycle, locations, Mungo, etc., what exactly happened there? Oh, the names, that's just the first place in the world where they discovered, oh, hey, wait, there was a magnetic excursion that happened at this time. We got it. We got one of those on the list. Nothing at 24,000 years. All right. Call it Lake Mungo. But yeah, flip 12,000 years, flip back. I now have to look at my phone when it lights up to make sure it's not cat. David says, have I heard the story of the Anunnaki? Once or twice. And their desire to protect the planet's atmosphere from blowing away from a major solar event by injecting gold particles into the upper atmosphere. Any shot this would be effective. And they don't need to do that. We're not going to have a huge portion of our atmosphere blown away by the micronova. The Anunnaki, Nibiru, from an enjoyable, imaginative, magic standpoint, is by far the greatest story in this realm. There's just nothing to suggest anything like that has happened for the last 72,000 years, when Shoal's star red binary system actually did come through. Can't hate on the question, though. A wood frame boat attaching with lines as many jugs, styrofoam, buoys, etc., completely around as many layers possible could offer plenty of flotation and protection from trees. It could. It's possible. Richard, if you build one, let us see a picture of it, please. Not a bad comment. Debbie Kennedy, thank you very much. Appreciate you. I'm bad at scrolling. Have I heard of the Greater Reset community and their efforts to create off-grid communities currently searching for land in southern New Mexico? I didn't know it was called the Greater Reset, but I have heard of things like that, and the vast majority of them are looking to create communities in places where it is not going to be fun to live at some point over the next 2 decades. I wish them the best. Godspeed and whatnot. Have been reading Dr. Peratt's papers on characteristics for the occurrence of a high current Z-pinch. He's God in this area. We will see this like was seen in history in the petroglyphs. Yeah. Maybe not the entire world will see it, but a huge portion of the world is going to see it. Oh, yeah. And it's going to be magnificent. Dr. Peratt is as high as it gets in this world. Hemp has thousands of uses industrially for food, medicine, etc. Must have for after the event. I would probably say that's a good call. Any plans to grow and process at the ranch? Not while the world is still spinning. Colorado may be Colorado, but you still need certain licenses to do certain things. Put it this way, hemp's not something that has too much of a challenge growing, and we're going to have everything you would need to grow hemp, put it that way. But no, we will not be growing that or marijuana at the ranch. For after the shizzle hits the fan, I'm remembering we've got little ones watching. Can geothermal power work for an Earth ship? Would the crust mantle affect the ability? I mean, I wouldn't. The problem is you got to do that whole setup after the fact. If you're getting geothermal power now, when the sun turns red, get the heck away from that thing. For real. Because it's not going to be a fun place to be when that happens. So if you have all the ways to make a geothermal power thing after the world, I say go for it. Things will settle down. Hello again, Ralph. The dust, if that's what it is that accumulates around the sun. Are there spots with more buildup than others? I don't think so. Maybe slight inhomogeneity or heterogeneity, however you want to say that. But essentially, when we actually hit the galactic magnetic reversal point, it's going to really screw with the electrical processes on the surface of the sun. This not only takes down the brightness, but it also stops the power behind the solar wind. And that's those two things, the photoionization and the solar wind are really what keep things from accumulating at the sun now. And so when those things are, during that galactic magnetic reversal is really when we're at the biggest risk for that. And it should be the same pretty much all around the sun. It's good to see you again, Ralph. Anunnaki aside, would Europe then be in the tropical zone after? I mean, if you manage to survive there, yeah, it'll be pretty close to the tropics. Did China get the last one? Fire facing? Yes, China got the flash last time. The Americas got the shell impact. Why then so much investment there now? Will Europe get full fire facing this time? Europe and Africa should get the flash this time, and the Pacific should take the shell impact. For those who are just hearing this for the first time, it's not hard to tell where the shell and the flash happened in the past, and they happen on approximately opposite sides of the earth, but there's the last one, the one before, the one before, the one before, the one before. And so not hard to figure out. And this is another one of those things where why exactly, what are the mechanics? Good question. And nobody really knows. But then again, ancient people could predict eclipses, but they thought the sun and the moon were living creatures that they could anger with their bad behavior. So you don't always necessarily need to know the mechanics if you have enough of a pattern to actually come to a learned conclusion. Yeah, Europe is terrifying. Will the Earth's rotation change directions? No. I am in northeastern Nevada at 6,000 feet. I've got to build an underground structure. Yes. The Earth tilts over, but keeps spinning as it does so. And yes, you need an underground structure. Red, sorry for the dumb question. Still appreciate what you do. I don't think I did a dumb question. Do you spend your entire life living this stuff like I do? Have you memorized my books? Have you watched the disaster playlist and done nothing else but watch the disaster playlist, eat, sleep, and poop for the last couple years? If the answer to those is no, then it's not a stupid question. Appreciate you. By iodine, the 46% solubility, a drop a day cures PCOS, thyroid, and diabetes issues. Appreciate the advice. My harp solves those issues. The harp between my ears. You all have one too. Go, Noah. That was Noah. Who knows he's not supposed to be coming in here right now. That's what babysitters are supposed to be for. My son is 8. My daughter is 5. They know what to do in a house fire and tornado. Wow, that's impressive. Oh, you live in Kansas. That's why. My son takes great pride in protecting his sister. Right on. Preparing your children for what comes next can start with what can happen right now. All right, T. Coleman, so far you're winning the comment section today. It's not a contest, but he's winning. Regarding Dr. Laviolette's galactic superwave, do I think it could be caused by the pole of the Milky Way's black hole flipping? I don't know, but here's the problem with it. That's not what we're going through right now because, as Dr. Laviolette says many times, and as he says when I interviewed him a couple years ago in the video that's on my channel, there's no pregame to it. There's no, oh, the magnetic field is starting to change on Earth. There's no, oh, we're starting to see the solar chemistry changing. We're seeing the other planets changing. It's a light event. When it arrives, it's over. Boom, and nobody knows what happened. That, and we can see millions, billions of galaxies in the cosmos, and at none of them have we ever seen anything remotely close to a superwave. Although there's an interesting story about a coronal mass ejection like model that comes from galactic flaring, although it's not the kind of thing that actually made it any distance in the galaxy. Not sure if you guys could hear that, but my kids are going nuts down there. During the Earth's crust shifting in Alberta, the wind will blow first from the east and then from the south, right? I have no idea, man. I have no idea. Why not from the south first? That's the way the water's coming. And then why not from the north afterwards as the sloshbacks come? In truth, I don't know. It's a good question. Oh, I missed a bunch here. Oh, my back. Noah says, my phone notifies me every time you post a video, but I was not notified when you went live today. This is not the first time YouTube failed to notify me about a live stream. I recommend a dual stream to Rumble. How in the world would I even do that? I got one laptop. I'm not going on to Rumble until I have to. Maybe I will, but probably not live. Probably not live. I may go on to Rumble. Simultaneous postings, the morning news, things like that. However, I will never forget the fact that the Congressional Select Committee on Climate Change, a bunch of congressmen, asked Google and YouTube to take down my channel, and they were like, no. What are you going to do? No, we're not going to take his channel down. There's a lot I disagree with and a lot I don't like, but they said no when Congress came after me. They didn't take down any of the other people in the climate game that they asked them to, but whatever. It's not like they were just protecting little Ben. I'm not little. Hemp used to be used for rope making for naval ships. I know how to spin linen into yarn and weave it into cloth. Susie, those sound like pretty good skills to have. Yeah, I agreed. Hemp is fantastic. Do I like the USA flag I sent over for Christmas? Got tickets to San Jose. Looking forward to meeting you. And yeah, I did like that USA flag. Appreciate that very much and look forward to seeing you in San Jose. For those who don't know what the San Jose thing is, look below the video. We're going on a little blitz tour in March and April. Hope to see you guys out there. What's worse? Earthquakes at 9.5, the shell, the flash, the fire, the waves, the wind, the hunger of the people, the glaciers, the magnetar effect, whatever's closest to you. Whatever's closest to you. That's the worst, is my simple answer. It's a tough question. If you live in Oklahoma, it's the waves, not the earthquakes. If you live in California, it's the earthquakes, not the waves. Legitimate question, though. Rip Rock. Ben, thanks for all you do. Have about the PDF versions of your books and try to spread the word on Twitter. Live just outside Vancouver, BC, so I know I'm toast. Being over 60 kind of says, what the hey? I don't know why you necessarily have to be toast. You're here now for a reason. And if you don't believe that, there's nothing I can do really to help you or encourage you. You're not here not to try, put it that way. Stephanie, appreciate that very much. Hello. LB, when the tilt happens, where will sunrise be in relation to the current position? I mean, the sun's still going to spin. The interesting thing is those stories of the sun rising in the wrong location just happen, or coming up the wrong way, they just happen once. It's not like it was like that and then it happened that way forever. During the tilt, there'll be long nights, long days, sunrises and sunsets that are unexpected. But apart from the actual tilt like that, sunrise and sunset will be as they have always been. It's just if you live where I live, you're going to be looking north except south, especially in winter. It's a challenging question to answer like that on a live stream. It'd be better if I had a globe. StreamYard allows you to stream to multiple platforms from one device simultaneously. That's interesting. I've been on with people who use StreamYard. I didn't like it, but I'll look into it. Thank you for the tip, Noah Hawkins. Why not build the ranch with a cliffside rock face such as Mesa Verde or into a mine? Because the purpose of Observer Ranch is to serve the observers now and after for some of us. The main thing of this is to have a place for us to all meet. That and the water's not going to get here to Colorado for the 100 reasons I've given before. I would not want to throw all my eggs into an underground mine for all the reasons I have said before. We're going to have underground bunkers. We're going to have plenty of stuff like that, but you want to have as many options as possible. Depending on where you live, Ted Reynolds, maybe you want to build a house like that, but it's not necessary where we are. Not necessary at all. Trying to read some of the other comments. Did you guys see we had a new Big Bird video this last week? Might be a while till we get the next one. Yeah, I know it's as simple as just getting that air starter to work, but Rocky had ACL surgery. He is immobilized. Like trolls when they try to outthink me. Frank Sutherland, watch the playlist. Yeah, I will do that to you. Watch the playlist. We addressed that like 4 times in there. I could say watch the playlist to literally like 80% of these comments. Come on. Hi, Stormy. How you doing? Steve, yes, I do know what happened with Sunspot Observatory. They were spying. And they never took the data offline. You couldn't go into the facility. They shut them down in that perspective. But they never stopped the data from coming out. I know you probably heard someone online saying they did. I was putting the data in my morning show. So no, they did not. And given the proximity and some of the arrests that were made, I think they were spying on U.S. military interests, if I had to guess. Susie says, I told my sweetheart your words. You chose to be here at this time in history. Giving up is not an option. He started talking about Tonopah. Right on. Meeting him at his interests is one of the greatest ways to keep a guy. Insert whatever end of that sentence you want. Considering the liquefaction effects, what type of surface ground would be best? Rock, bedrock, lots of soil. What type does Colorado have? Is a structure of reinforced concrete even a good idea? If you mean reinforced with metal, no. No. You know, I also would say I'm probably not the best qualified to tell you what rock, bedrock, soil to live on. Especially because you don't know what's going to go through the ground electrically in that area. And that matters. Ragtag Dirtbag. Nice name, and I appreciate your support. Watch the playlist, everyone drinks. No, Ron, I told everyone we're not playing that game anymore. Like, honestly, people who were saying they were still drunk, like in the afternoon the next day, was something. Best state to be in the U.S., Don Warner. For what? For surviving the disaster? For finding girls? For what? I know. Who wakes up drunk? I don't understand. Like, I've never woken up drunk. I don't drink anymore, but I never woke up drunk. That's crazy. You got special powers. Yeah, special powers is as generous as that could be said, huh? Just hit the 1 hour mark. Good time to remind everyone. Below the video, description box, links to the most important stuff you could need right now, which would be tickets to our events coming up later this year. It's our last traveling tour before you guys all come to the ranch. Speaking of the ranch, links to that down there below as well. Links to the books, playlists, links to the Big Burb, and links to my Twitter. And if you're not following me on Twitter, what's wrong with you? Ralph, again, hello. This question might get me to watch the playlist, but I'm going to ask anyway. When the crust unlocks, will lava flow up through it and expand the world more too? That's a good question. I don't know. They do talk about the white fire from below, which would be what that really kind of looked like as it rapidly hit oxygen if it was coming through at that speed. I do think there will be lava breakthroughs in the mantle heaving. Where? I don't know. I doubt anybody does. But there should be phenomenal mantle heaving because of the electric currents induced and the torque of unlocking the crust. And planes aren't going to skid on it like a figure skater. They're going to, it'll be rough. You have a way to refill the air tank on the bourbon if the tank is emptied and the engine is not running. Yeah, manual one. Yes, I know. It is going to take a while, but we installed a crank manual way to repump air into that. I will let Rocky tell you more about that when he is done with his recovery from ACL surgery. How you like the couch, Rocky? Make fun of me now. Considering the 50th monkey concept for the disaster, first of all, it's 100th monkey, but I'm going to let that slide. Any guesses on when it will all be too late to sell property in the danger areas and move to higher ground? No. And that might, there's two ways to look at that question. You could look at that from the perspective of, do we make it all the way to the micronova and pole shift? How long will it take you to move? What if the sun takes out power to everything next week? You're already screwed. You don't know it. Once the sun takes out power to everything, which I do believe will happen before the micronova, magnetic pole flip, and the Earth turning over, all prepping is done. All moving is over. You've got what you got, and you are where you are. That's why we're going as fast as we can over here. Thanks for all you do. Much appreciated. No, you are appreciated. Thank you. Can you guys hear that crying? They're giving my babysitter a run for her money right now. Do I think Mars will be hit worse than the Earth during the next nova event? That depends on in what way you're talking about. Mars doesn't have the protection that Earth has, doesn't have the magnetism, doesn't have the atmosphere. Really hard to say. And it depends on exactly what you mean. I don't think any technology or civilization is going to do any, let's say Elon gets us all there. Even if he got us all there working and clicking next year, they're not going to do any better than we are down here technologically. The rabbit hole, that's funny. And it is watch the playlist hour somewhere. Set to country music. Lloyd Gonzalez, as long as it's not being sung by someone who has too much hair dye. What's my timeline of when this would take place? What do you guys think? Should I tell Lloyd to watch the playlist? Oh, it's probably too dark to see that, huh? Lloyd Gonzalez, because you were so kind to come on here and ask. The micronova and Earth flipping over is going to be in the 2030s to 2040s, but the sun, as Earth's magnetic field is weakening, the sun could take out our power with one good pop anytime. Maybe That's a year before the micronova and the world turns over. Maybe that's next week. That is the part of this. That is the part of this that just nobody knows. Challenging. Could I explain a bit more on the electrical current going through the ground as far as you can't shield from that? There's no shielding from that. There are no electronics that are going to survive this. End of story. There's no shielding from that electric current. It's induced electricity. It's not based on line of sight, doesn't need a wire. It's induced, which means if you're down here on the ground, you're getting the current going through you. There's no way around it. No, like even if you happen to jump at the exact time, it's going through the atmosphere too. It's induced. Chicken feeds contaminated, starting a new feed company looking for partners. Okay, Uncommon News 777. Are you planning to put your email address or your phone number up there here on the internet? Okay. Good luck, Uncommon News. Truly, though. Contaminated feed is never good. Contaminated population is worse, followed worse still by contaminated hair dye. Oh! Beating this dead horse here in a minute. Thanks for the live chats, SO. You're very welcome, Lynn. And Lloyd, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Hope that answered your question. Moo, you're back. Regardless of lights out before, no one discusses the panic that will set in. Fate is unknown, written in the ancient text. What about luck? 3,000 meters is pretty good. I don't know if you necessarily need to be that high. But that's certainly going to keep you safe from most things. As long as you're not around panicky people and you don't panic yourself. You're correct about that part. It's one of the reasons you can't be in a big city. Glad you guys are liking it. I'm glad you guys are liking this hair dye thing. I'm thinking it's funny. And it is. I mentioned that Denver sucks. Just the entire city is just awful. Skydancer, regarding your Laramie Cheyenne question from last Q&A. Laramie Valley was called a dead valley by Indians. Alkali fields, no wells. Message me if you want more info. I'm native to the area. Okay. Are there no wells in Cheyenne? There's no wells in Cheyenne for real? I didn't know that. I don't know if I believe that. I don't know anything about Cheyenne, but my brother has metal clips in his brain, skull, and ankles. Which event would melt the metal in his body? The solar micronova. And as I said in previous shows, the best he can do is make his body's energy field as strong as possible. Diet, exercise, and mental exercise. Do I ever believe in reincarnation? Uncertain. I believe in more than just a fleshy body and a random electrical sequence that we call consciousness. There is something more. Amy, thank you very much. Appreciate it. The real arms race afterwards is who can make copper wire first. If I had a lot of money, I'd print every single patent and laminate them all, seal them away. God bless and Godspeed, observers. Please don't go underground with them. Who's them? Like the elites? Yeah, deep underground military base would not be a good idea. To be honest, sticks, stones, I just go offline with my kid playing with the internet downstairs. That's fun. Official Lucid Traveler. I don't know what you mean by them. I'm going to assume you mean the elites, and no, don't go anywhere with them. Wells in Cheyenne, but not in Laramie Valley. Interesting. Huh, I wonder why. Might want to look into that. Will planetary alignment next year cause any trouble? Us between the 4 gas giants? Nope. We had that this year. We'll have that next year and the year before. It happens every couple hundred years. And every couple hundred years, it happens several years in a row. There are some truths to looking at planetary geometry for a number of things, but it is what it is. And yeah, Dub, you really pay $5 to say that? Are you sure Denver sucks? I heard that Colorado Springs blows. No, Denver sucks. Denver sucks. Too much hair dye. Too much hair dye. Have I heard of Eric Dollard? Yeah, once or twice. Regarding the electromotive force, if so, any thoughts? He's got some interesting stuff going on. And he's got some stuff that makes no sense. Some of the stuff that does make sense is done in a very inefficient, poorly engineered way. Like the idea about setting devices up everywhere to monitor for earthquake stuff that really can't differentiate between somebody standing over top of it with a cell phone. If there's an earthquake in that area, all of his devices would be destroyed. If they get hit by lightning, they're going to be destroyed, not to mention potentially set off the sensors. When we have all the data on that stuff we want from satellites and other remote sensing anyway. Not a dumb guy, but better ways to do it. Hello, Rebecca. If induced current can't be blocked, what will keep us from getting electrocuted no matter where we're at, below ground or not? Because first of all, you are not the same as a copper wire. You are not the same as a block of iron, and you have your own body energy field, which a copper wire doesn't have. Feed your body energy field. Don't put crap in your body. Physical exercise, mental exercise, rooting out traumas, getting right on no observer has any excuse not to be the best version of themselves in every way possible. Every way possible. Just how it is. This is as loud as my kids have ever been during a live stream. Andrew says, Doug Vogt's theory, the Earth's core is literally a tiny star rather than an iron core with accumulated dust we call Earth dirt. What are my thoughts on that? Is it plausible? I think that there's an inner core that's got water, and that the center of that water body is a sonoluminescent plasma. It's kind of the same thing, but not really. Just because we're trying to rewrite a lot of geology and astrophysics and we're watching our predictions come true, it doesn't mean that all of geology and astrophysics is wrong. It's just about half wrong. Truth is, none of us have ever been down there to know. Uncommon News, DG Thompson 86, YouTube won't let me send the contact. You're literally doing super chats to talk to somebody else in the... All right, hopefully he sees it. Ragtag Dirtbag. That's just a name. Been watching you on and off since 2011, Ben. Thanks for all the knowledge you share. Much appreciated. I couldn't imagine doing anything else. Ted Reynolds. Bongs, each time he says watch the playlist. Can confirm Denver sucks. Much appreciated. Hilarious seeing all-wheel drive Teslas driving in left lane with flashers on in the snow. I have a million bad things to say about Denver. It's I could literally go on an entire diatribe about how much I hate that city. Susie, telling us more about what she can do. I know how to fletch arrows, make bows and strings, and I know how to make real chainmail. Girl, all this flexing, you better survive. Like observers who don't make it in this better not get up there and see you up there. So they're gonna be like, Susie, what happened? What happened, Susie? Mark Miller, how do I feel about canning meat, or will the kids be a problem? The second part of that's throwing me off. How do I feel about canning meat, or will the kids be a problem? I mean, yeah, can meat if you can, then put it in a plastic cup. No comment on the kids being a problem. Or did you meant to say lids be a problem? If things are in like non-flexible, like durable plastic storage, I think it'll be fine. Tim Z, are we going up and down the galactic wave, or are we in the center of it? So we do go up and down, but on much longer time scales, millions of years. The galactic wave is hitting us. It's not like we are passing into an area. We're slowly moving, and the wave is passing by us like that. Do you like that? I do it again. I'll do it again if you die here. Then we can both go to den together. Barry Smith, thank you very much. Appreciate the support. Do I believe in Atha? And what do I think is an effective mental exercise? I'll have to look more into Agartha, but meditation helps. Rooting out your traumas and figuring out how to do that helps. Mark Miller, yeah, lids. Glass jars with rubber lids are best, but if you've got metal, just put them in a plastic bin. But Clint, yeah, meditation, rooting out traumas. Those things are not unimportant at all. What's the verdict on keeping things like LED flashlights, shortwave radios, and Faraday cage? Is there a point? I'd rather you keep them in a plastic bin. I will never understand the obsession with the Faraday cage. It's the difference between an electrical insulator, plastic, and a Faraday cage, which is intentionally trying to take the current through it and redirect it somewhere else. The kind of current we're talking about is going to melt a Faraday cage. A micronova, now maybe not the pre-CME from the sun that has the EMP, but plastic. Justin, I have rods and screws from surgery. Am I effed? Watch your mouth. You could have issues, or as I say every single time this comes up, and as I've said several times already in the show, build your body energy as best you can. With your diet, by not putting crap in your body, your physical character matters. Your mental character matters. Your positivity versus negativity matters. This is where, sadly, all you people who like to call that woo-woo stuff are in big trouble, because that's how you protect yourself when you can't avoid induced electric current. Graphene is conductive, but is not a metal. How would it fare in a meltdown? We obviously have loads of it, especially those who took the water is conductive. No, your connection is unstable. YouTube's telling me my internet connection is unstable. It's not cool. Jan.26.2023, appreciate you very much. I should be getting off soon anyway. It was literally light outside when I started this, and not anymore. Did I miss one there? How are we going to protect ourselves when all nuclear plants blow after the kill shot happens? Well, that's not going to happen. Papa Ganj, watch the plate, because I've gone over that like 8 different times already. And then go watch Galen Windsor, The Nuclear Scare Scam. Homework. Homework. It's important. I've even got nuclear in one of the titles of the videos. Hello, Scott. Knowing how to grow and survive with food and clean frontal lobe is clear. However, how do I protect myself in the most simple way from the electric current? No, man. What I just told you. For real. It's not going to kill everybody. It will make many hearts fail. No doubt about it. Basil. What about a Faraday cage that's all metal outside and completely insulated by rubber plastic? Then what do you need the Faraday cage for? Like, seriously, if you're going to completely insulate the thing, it can't take on the current, can't do what it's meant to do. Like, why even have the thing? In fact, that might even make it worse because it can't attract the current that's coming through. If it's insulated, it'll just go through the holes in the cage. That would actually be worse. How about that? If you insulate the wiring on your Faraday cage, it will work less well. How about that? Learn to grow medicinal herbs to stay healthy. Yeah, that helps too. But know what you're doing. Herbs, oils are essential. But you can't just go messing around. You got to know how to keep them too. Why the eastern slope? What are we talking about? Do you expect it to be a huge jet stream of cold to get stuck on the western slopes? No, the western slope has California and is too close to the Pacific. The waves won't be as big there, but the earthquakes will be. I presume you mean eastern slope of the Rockies. Yeah, between the earthquakes being that close to the Pacific and the entire state of California. I'm not exactly huge fans of Oregon and Washington either. No. It's a very simple thing. It has nothing to do with cold. Too close to the Antifa zones. Is my answer. Jan.26.2023, you have a free venue for 80 people in SoCal. Did you email us? If you did and we didn't see it yet, we're just behind. But yeah, I wanted to do an event in San Diego. Would love to do an event in San Diego. Air Fox Photography, appreciate you. Thank you. Just a little bit longer here. Yeah, Oak Hill Classroom. Denver sucks. Allison A, click the link right below the video to our events. Shows you everywhere we're going to be. Yeah. Below the video, links to all of our events on the tour. We might add another one or two. We might not. We'll see. We're working on it. Links to my Twitter, links to Observer Ranch. Everything you guys need for Observer World. Anyway. Mia Moore, did you just write a bunch of tacos? Right on. All right, we got another one there. Thanks, Ben and family, for all you do. Love the fleece in Florida winter, which doesn't count as a winter, but I get what you're saying. No worries. Jesus will be here to save you if you believe. Amen. Amen indeed. All right, guys. Thank you very much for jumping on here with me. This is a little bit of a different show. Way too much hair dye for my liking. But yeah. I'll see you guys in the morning for the daily show. And then not in the afternoon because I have freaking jury duty tomorrow. Unfathomable. All right, one more. Susie, you snuck in here again. Word to the wise, learn how to live around the year, how they did around the year 1000 AD, the Norsemen, a.k.a. Vikings. That's a good one to land on right there. And yes, exactly. Pre-industrial living. It's going to be necessary. All right, guys, I'll see you in the morning. And as I said once again, I have jury duty, so I will not be seeing you in the afternoon tomorrow. But be safe, everyone.